Hello guys, Andy here, Kent Survival. Out in Essex today on a bit of a camp along the shore of the Thames here. Been on a bit of a walk down past the Coal House Fault down there, and that's kind of the sister fault to the cliff one that you've seen on a video before. We've come down, there's a comms tower down there that's quite interesting and some pillboxes. Been taking that in. We've come down now and Des from Des Cattys Bushcraft by Des Cattys, link below, is going to show us how to make a catapult. He's done this before on his channel. I found it quite interesting, so it's something I've always wanted to do, so he's going to show us how to do it here today, so you can check out his video as well. And yeah, we're going to get started. Probably saw on the video that we've cut some pieces on the way in. I've got one that's actually a little bit seasoned here. Des is working with the one I cut earlier. Is this birch?
Yeah, that's birch.
Yeah, that is birch. Yeah, so we'll get started and I'll hand you over to Des.
Right, okay, yeah, so right, this morning then we selected our piece of wood, didn't we? I mean, ideally, those second two you got off those oak branches, they're still quite fresh. Ideally what I do like to do is kind of select wood that's already sort of from dead fallen branches, as it were, that's sort of almost seasoned already. If it's not kind of quite seasoned, I literally will just cut them off. I mean, that looks a bit disfigured at the moment, you know, I mean, that looks like a bit shit, but what I'll do is I'll cut that you know, I'll throw that in my pillowcase, goes in my shed, and I'll leave it there for probably 6 months to a year, and then I'll sit down and I'll work on it. I mean, if you look at that one I've finished for somebody. That's a piece of hazel, and then what I've done with that, I've just finished it in yachting varnish, but all I need to do now is put the bands onto that, which we can do after. So I think looking at that bit that you selected out of my bag end, I think that's like we were just saying, you might get some nice patterns out of that. That's quite sported. Now the only thing with the wood being sported, obviously because that's when it's going into its processing, isn't it, where it's starting to rot. We just need to be careful that obviously when we use any sort of wood for catapulting or stuff like that, in case, because it's going to be under some sort of pressure, under tension, we need to be careful that the forks don't break. Now I haven't got one with me, but you normally see a lot on the market these days of catapults that are made with like the birch multiplex kind of stuff, you know, and some of them are really nice, but I've personally had experience where the forks have snapped, it's just like a plywood, and for whatever reason, if there's been a weakness in the joint or whatever, and they have snapped. But again, you know, even when I go out and I select a piece of wood, even if it's off a fresh branch, like I say, I do try to find stuff that's already been wind damaged, is on the floor and all the rest of it, and I do give it the old Des Cattys kind of quality check and make sure that it's not gonna break in my hand. And if it doesn't break in my hand, then it's fine. If it does break, then discard it. Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is when you start pulling the bands back, it's for one of them to smash off and catch you in the face. Okay, so first of all, I mean, if you're going to be sort of using the catapult if you're going to be doing quite a bit, you know, even when you start out and you're plinking with them and all the rest of it, I do like to keep my forks reasonably short. I don't like to have them too long, and the only reason being is that when you're doing it for too long, if you have the forks too long, sometimes it can put stress in the arm, in the wrist and all that kind of stuff. That's interesting,
because I was actually looking for ones with longer pieces, because I was worried that would be too short.
No, because I mean, if you even look on, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what I think they're like. They're not a berry picker. I can't think what they call them, but they literally, I've seen them where people make them out of one flat piece of wood. They'll have a band coming over the top with a piece of paracord and a pouch onto it. And I've got a little story to tell where I actually made one of them one day, and there's a bit of a technique to it that I could not master for the death of me. And near to where I live, where that quarry was on the right, I was over there. I put a tin can on the floor, got it all rigged up. I went to flick it, and my first one, I didn't flick it right, and the stone come back and it hit me on the hip, and I literally threw it on the floor, and I was bouncing around like John Travolta. And bearing in mind, I'm looking around to make sure there's no one's seeing that debacle, you know, and it really hurt. So I've kind of thrown it away now, and I don't bother. But I have seen some videos on YouTube in the past, and you see some very good, like, you know, very good techniques with it. But for me personally, I just like the traditional style of making a catapult. And this one was actually made. This one's made out of guess what that's made out of?
I guess it'd be resin, some kind of resin.
it's made out of bottle tops.
Oh, okay.
So someone has, my mate Jason had it, and he bought it. He didn't really like it, and so I swapped it. He liked some. I'd made a small one out of hawthorn, and he literally swapped them with it. I loved it. I really do like it, but he didn't like it. So that's at the moment that kind of lives in my in my rucksack. Really.
It's got a good grip shape on it.
Yeah, it's ambidextrous as well. So you've got, if you're left-handed as well, you can get away with using it left-handed. Also, it's quite, it's quite a nice, it's quite a nice little catapult. I quite like that as it goes. So anyway, getting back to it. So we've got our blank. So it needs to be established then what kind of size to have it. I mean, again, it's totally up to you. With holding catapults, the kind of two simple methods that I kind of like, you can either go for a pistol grip, or the other one is to go where you wrap your fingers around there, which a lot of people don't like because they tend to worry about slapping yourself and stuff like that. But again, that's up, that's just down to experience. But I like to keep it sort of just where my hand, just the kind of, the sort of length of my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the rest I'll cut off and then just shape that off in the end. You will get it as well where some people put paracord, where they'll drill a hole and they'll put a length of paracord with like a cord lock in it or something like that, and they'll basically almost use it like like the Black Widow.
Oh yeah.
So they'll kind of use them like that. So same again, something just to slip your hand in to give you a bit of a brace, which you can do. You could do that yourself, you know what I mean? That's not bad to do. And then once you've cut it to the size we want, then what we're looking at doing is we need to create you can keep them round, but what I like to do is just flatten them off on the side that's facing away from you. So if you can imagine like this one, if you can imagine the bands are attached to that, what's going to happen is the bands are going to come over the top. You don't want to be pulling them that way, if you see what I mean.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to be pulling, you want to be pulling them over the top.
Flat against
there, yeah, so that's going to come over the top of the forks. Okay, and then what we do as well is we literally just cut a little groove all the way around so that the bindings are going to seat nicely into there. I mean, again, that's not important because I've made them with deer antler and stuff like that where I've literally just bound them up tight enough for the latex to kind of bite in on itself and then to bite in on the banding to obviously stop it from them slipping out. But I like to do that. It just makes it a little bit more easier for housing.
It stops them from slipping off.
It does
a bit as well, an extra level?
Bit. Yeah, it does a little bit. I mean, I've seen them where people put U-nails into them as well.
Okay.
So they'll hammer in a U-nail with a bit of, some sort of strong glue, and then they'll attach the bands onto it. And again, I'm just a bit sceptical of that happening, of worrying about that. That's another component.
So
especially with a U-nail for it to come off, and that could potentially. I mean, when you start out using one, it's not a bad thing to wear a pair of glasses. You know what I mean, like just eye protection, just to sort of, to prevent, obviously to gain the confidence in your catapult when you're using it. But again, that'll come with experience, and also it's nice to get into the habit of actually, even before you start firing your catapult, just giving it the once over, make sure the bands are okay, make sure there's no perishing in the bands or anything like that. If there is, just discard them and buy some more bands. I mean, as I say, these ones that I've got here, I mean, I cheated this time round, and I bought some bands off of Gamekeeper John, very famous catapult on UK. He's on the internet and all the rest of it, and I actually bought some of his bands. So they're double latex bands, TheraBand stuff, just basically like a Pilates band, and we'll use these. But as I say, they will perish. I mean, they will go after a while. They sometimes go on the end here because they're rubbing over the top, or they may go sort of down the middle somewhere. You can rub a tiny bit of talc in them if you want, but as I say, it's only latex and eventually it will go. What I have used in the past, I've used the sort of 6mm square black rubber, and I found that I sold a load of catapults one time at the game fair in Kent, at the Kent County Show.
Okay, yeah.
And there was a lot of people from the Traveller fraternity there, and a lot of them guys all wanted those catapults. They didn't, not to say that but on this particular occasion, a lot of the Traveller guys that were there were all that I had left in the end was catapults that were fitted with bangs, and they didn't want them. They all for some reason. But I think it's a little bit of an old school one job that I do. I think using the black rubber. But that means you have to kind of drill a hole through the middle, pull the binding through, and then you use a dowel, and then the dowel goes through there, and then you pull that back through on itself to get it nice and tight. Cut off your excess, and then you've got your your catapult to use that way. But and then you get the Dan Kong type, like the Chinese and all the rest of it, where they're on some of their catapults they'll have sort of the real sort of slim diameter rubber, and they'll use and they'll have about sort of 4 or 6
of them.
loads
I have
of them,
seen that
and
style,
you'll see some of them ones where they fire really, they fire quite long distances with them. But as I say, I kind of I'm using these on this particular occasion today. I'm using these ones from Gamekeeper John. I've actually got a catapult by Gamekeeper John. He does some nice stuff, and he's got some, as I say, brilliant videos on there as well. I mean, I prefer to make them, I think, rather than I do shoot them half the time. You know what I mean? So that's it. So first of all, then, we need
we'll
to
get the shape. So I'm going to be taking off.
You might
just below the hand,
probably. Oh no, I'm telling you to take that off. You might look at that and go, no, I like that.
No, I think there's a
fine.
little bit that could come off there.
Yes,
and then even these up at the top.
And then even them at the top. Now I would personally sort of, now when I'm taking them, I might personally take, maybe go down to halfway for now, and then if you want, go down to there. And then what you need to do then is we'll pencil a line slightly across, and we'll mark it across there as well. All right, and then we'll say cut that one first, and then we'll cut that second one. All right, because it can be a little bit misleading as well. You're either better off cutting a little bit at a time rather than going too over excessive.
Can't put it back.
No, that's right. That's
right,
exactly
I'll bring you guys in, and we'll get a zoom in. Right, so I've whittled this one down here so it's a bit more similar in size to this one. So where do we go from here?
Right, so now you've got to establish it, give it a twist in your hand, give it a nice twist, and find out which side's more comfortable for you.
Well, first off, am I holding this? I'm right-handed. Will I hold it in my left and pull with the right?
No, this is a good conversation because we've had it, because I'm right-handed and I hold it in my right hand, but I pull with my left. But whereas they say as an archer, you'd normally use your strong arm to pull on the bow, whereas I'm not an archer, but so it's just totally down to you.
I think I'd feel more comfortable holding it in my left, sort of archer style, which I think would be that.
Now,
that way round.
Well, have a go with that. See how you feel. I mean, obviously that's just a bit different style, but now I feel cack-handed holding it like that. That's why I hold it in my right.
No, this. It's definitely this for me.
Definitely your left.
Yeah.
Now watch me when I hold it in my left. I can't.
That's kind of how I felt with the right.
I instantly want to put my thumb over it as well.
Weird,
whereas if I hold it in my right, for me personally, that's how I prove it. Isn't it weird?
Yeah, I think definitely left.
Yeah. Again, you know what I mean? We had this conversation. So you decide obviously which way you want to hold it.
Yep.
Is it going to be that side?
Yeah, it's going to be like that. These are going slightly in like that, which I think kind of works.
So now what we're going to do then, that's the side we're going to flatten off. So if we get it, just to sort of mark it off, just to sort of, so we don't make any, sort of any. So that's the side now we're going to flatten off. Now, I mean, again, you can flatten them off as far down as you. I do like to flatten them off, sort of the whole length of the fork. Just taper it into it, and then what I do. I mean, this will come a bit later, but we can obviously we'll round those off when we use the abranet and everything else. And then once we've established that flat side, then we can then just mark it. Sometimes I say a little finger's width depth, or it doesn't have to be much. And literally, what we do is we'll then create a gouge all the way around the top to accommodate the bands. All right. So what we're going to do now then is just what you're going to do is just flatten it off evenly on both sides of the forks. All right. So once we've got, there's my mat going for a bit there. Once we've got the our site, the side that we want flattened off, we just need to create a bevel. I kind of don't just do it on the one side, I do it all the way around. So all I'm going to do there is just take create a nice bevel there, and then I'll do it the same all the way around. I mean, when we start rubbing it down with the Abranet, that will smooth it off even better. But at the moment, it's good to do all your carving first, and then to finish off with your your rubbing at the end. Because sometimes it makes, once you've rubbed it down, sometimes it makes it a little bit more difficult to actually start carving on again for some reason. And then, as I say, about a finger's width depth or so, what we want to do here is just, what I'll do is get the blade and then just push it, so we create a little, almost like a stop cut. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way around the fork. Now you can pencil this, but it's not important. And then what you're hoping to do is, once you go around the curvature, the diameter of the wood, you want to meet up, which it has done with the stop cut there, and then create it again. Right, then once we've done that, all we're doing now is creating like a little gouge into the wood. So I literally just, back of the blade there, reinforced cut, and with the back of my thumb I just push into that stop cut. Sometimes it will come out easy and sometimes it won't. This bit of oak's still quite fresh, so it's going to be, you see what we start to create there, we start to create a little bit of a gouge all the way around. Once we've done it that side, we then switch it over and then do the same again the other side. So, and then we do that all the way around until we've got our gouge, something like that.
Sweet.
Okay, sweet. Really calm not long ago.
It's such an awkward shape to carve, isn't it?
It can,
when you're holding it,
bit, yeah.
Figuring out where to hold it.
Sometimes I end up holding it upside down. And right, so then now part, just create a stop cut all the way around, something like that, all the way around.
You just got to do it where you feel safe.
The thing is, when you're doing so many, that's why I mean, you can use a bushcraft knife to do it. You know, like your normal size knife, but it's handy just to have like a little flexi cut, or you know, I use like a TN12 if I'm doing loads of them, because it just makes life just that little bit easier.
What's a TN12 do?
TN12 is just the model, the flex cut.
Right, I've flattened off the backs here now, rounded over the tops and put in this kind of divot for the elastic not to slide off. What's next?
Right, so now we've got the Abranet. Now Abranet is, if you don't know, it's like an abrasive gauze. And what's good about this, comes in different abrasive densities. And what's good about this stuff, compared to sandpaper, when you use a sandpaper it clogs up. But with this, because it's kind of mesh, because it's like a fluff on the one side with the abrasive on the other, and it's literally just a matter of you flick it out. And as I say, if you use like a doesn't really what one you use really, but if you use quite a
Sort of coarse down to...
Yeah, use a coarse one, use a 120 for now. You feel that's quite rough, that one, isn't it? And that's a 240. See the difference?
Yeah.
So use that one first just to get it all rough, get it all smoothed down as much, and then you can use this one just to fine it up. And what it does as well, it helps pull the grain out as well. But get right into your grooves as well on now. All round the tops off, get your bevels all nice and smooth. So
that works pretty quick.
It does, it's really good stuff. Really is good stuff. And so you just go on something like eBay and you can pick up a load of it for,
yeah, I can get hold of some.
You know, for about a tenner or something.
And it doesn't kind of crease and break as well, like a sandpaper.
Like a piece of sandpaper does. No, it really does last a long.
Not as messy.
Ages. I love using it. I do.
I'm starting to get somewhere now. This is starting to take shape. It's nice and smooth. This stuff's really good. If I can find some, I'll link it in the description so you know what I'm talking about. Next step, I'm gonna get Des to show us how to string it up. Right, Des is going to show me and you how to string these up now, because this is a bit fiddly. I've come in with a camera.
Okay. Right, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What? So now we're gonna put the actual pouch onto the. We're gonna bind the pouch onto the actual forks. Now, when you actually put the pouch onto the bands, these need to be put on under tension, and what I've got at home, I've got a vise. I've basically got a piece of wood with 2 brackets on it, and what happens is I put them in there, stretch them out so that they're under tension, and then I can bind them up. I can put the bindings on. And then when we come to actually attach them onto the forks, we don't really need to put them on under any pressure. Now, that bit goes on the inside there, right? We can get away with, we could probably much get away with just having the flat. It's a bit windy now, but we could have the flat of that band just go straight over there like so. Alright, so we're going to hold it with our thumb and then our index finger on the other side. We're going to take one of the bindings, and what we're going to do is we're going to offer that up to the groove. Alright, and then what happens is you put your thumb on top of there like so to stop it from running off. Yeah. And then what we're going to do now is put that under tension, so that's going to come round once, twice, 3 times a lady. Okay, so we can do this about 3 or 4 times, doesn't really matter too much, as long as you've got enough for the last bit. So now when we get to here, what I do is I like to roll it round onto the front of the fork, alright, like so. And then what you do now is you can put your loop that's going to go underneath the binding, yeah? Alright, I do apologise for my thumb and forefingers and all that in the way. So that's gone over the top, so you put your binding over the top of there, like so, yeah? Oh, crikey,
and then it blows off.
Right, so that goes like that. Unfortunately, it's just a bit windy. So now, keeping that under tension, you go around once, go around a second time. And then as it comes around the 3rd time, keeping that under tension, hold the loop, hold the band through the loop, and then just pull that like so until it clicks. You hear that click? Yeah. And then what we need to do now, then I haven't got scissors with me, so I'll use a knife. Can I borrow your knife?
Yes, go for it.
So we're going to use a knife now, just to take that excess off. All right. And then once we've done that, we then pull it through. Alright, and so that's our first binding on, like so.
Pretty smart way of doing it.
It is. You can, yeah, you can use pliers. You know, you can use pliers and stuff like that. But same again. I just go for around that sort of. What I will do is before I actually, what I sometimes do, I'll either hold it with my thumb and forefinger, and what I do is I'll just pull the rubbers, just to make sure that they're going over the top of the forks. I could have done with actually folding them over, because the forks are actually a little bit, I could have done with folding the bands over, because these bands are slightly wider, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, so same again now, we're going to place that over the top there and hold it with our thumb, and we're going to then run it round the gouge, and it's going to go around once, twice. It just makes me want to go into the Commodore song again. Yeah. So do that sort of 3 or 4 times, 5 times, depending on how much binding you've got as well. And then when you get to there, repeat the process again. So again, hold it under tension, get your loop, your piece of cord, and that goes over the top of the binding now. So you only need to do this twice. So it's gone over once, over twice. On the 3rd time round, put the trailing end of your binding through the loop. Keep that under tension now, and then just pull it slowly until it makes that clicking sound. It didn't do it that time, but it's not a problem. And then all you need to do now is cut off your excess binding and pull it through. And then what we can do now is just tie it. I mean, normally I'd have a pair of scissors, and what we do is we'll just take that off there, like so. You can take that binding off, you can take the excess off there if you want, but it's not really an issue. And then what you've got there is your catapult. Alright.
Right, so here I go. I'm going to try it. You can watch me, because I will make a mistake. So flat side.
Let's have a look, let's have a look. Right, okay, yeah, so all you've got to do now is look. Yeah, that's it, how you're doing it now.
Right.
Now you can get away on this one, that's quite wide, so you'll probably be okay, but you can also do it, take that a sec, you can also do it by just folding it over.
Oh, okay, like, if you're a lot narrower.
Right into the forks, if you really wanted to, but if you're happy with it.
Yeah, this is quite fat, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a wide fork.
So just start from the back there.
Yep. and then pull
Get
it
it
tight,
really-
nice and tight.
Oh yeah, you see it go into the
And then
groove.
you see it already bind into the groove, can't you?
That's a Madonna from here.
Alright, so that's 3 times. And so that goes loop like that. Right, so I'm round 3 times.
Yep.
This goes above or below now.
What I'll do now, right, let go of it. Right, I'll take it off your knee. I'll take it out your hand, yeah? So what we're going to do now is we're going to put that loop there like so, and then your binding's going to come over the top.
Right, so you go around another
Yeah,
time.
and then so that's once,
That's the 1 and
and then two,
two.
and then on the 3rd time round,
through the loop.
pass it through the loop, yeah? Keep that under tension as much as you can as well. It's a bit like taking a bird's bra off if you're not used to doing it one-handed. You know when you do it for the first time. That's it. Keep it under tension,
Right.
and then you need to hold
Hold
there
it under tension and pull it.
and pull it there. That's it. Just pull it till it clicks.
Yep,
Once
yep.
that clicking sound, that's it. And then
So
cut
that's
your
through.
excess with your knife. That's it. That's it, and then clip it through, and then pull it through. That's it.
Boom.
Boom. So that's one done.
Right, so we're all done. I'm ready for some plinking. Probably finished the handle off at home, but kind of wanted to get it done before it gets dark here so we can get on with our camp. But I'd like to thank Des. It's been very helpful. And where can everyone find you?
Des Cattys, just go on YouTube and just put in Des Cattys, and you know, my lovely mug should come up, alright? So thank you very much.
And it'll be linked below as well. He's got loads of projects that you can do at home or in the woods. Very knowledgeable man. Thank you.
You're welcome, mate. No worries.